Hantavirus is a group of viruses usually carried by rodents. It is not new and is not one single disease. In Europe and Asia, hantavirus are often linked to illness that affect the kidneys and blood vessels.
Now, the one thing with this one is that it's much harder to catch.
Some strains can cause more severe diseases that affect the lungs and heart. The World Health Organization describes hantavirus infection as a serious disease, but one that usually remains linked to specific exposure rather than everyday public contact. The reason this virus returned to global attention is the outbreak connected to the Hantavirus cruise ship. The European Center for Disease Prevention and Control reported that the ship had passengers and crew from 23 countries, and that the virus involved was identified as a Hantavirus. The World Health Organization reported 11 cases linked to the cruise ship as the 13th of May 2026, and several news reporters have confirmed the deaths connected to the outbreak. This matters because hantavirus is different from most hantaviruses. Normally, people become infected through exposure of rodent urine, droppings, saliva, or dust. That means the risk is often connected to cabins, farms, storages, rooms, garages, forests, or enclosed spaces where rodents have been presented. But hantavirus is the rare strain where limited person-to-person transmission has been documented, usually through close and prolonged contact. That does not mean casual global spread. It means that the virus deserves attention without turning the issue into panic.
Hantaviruses are a group of viruses carried by rodents that can cause severe disease in humans.
In history, hantavirus became widely known after the 1993 Four Corners outbreak in the United States. A mysterious respiratory illness appeared in a region where Arizona, Colorado, New Mexico, and Utah met. The United States Centers for Disease Control and Prevention says surveillance for hantavirus disease began after the outbreak. And the disease became nationally notifiable in 1995. So this virus has been monitored for decades, even if the most people only hear about when dramatic outbreak enters the news cycle. Every Hantavirus case shows how fast health event becomes international. Ship travel with passengers and crew from multiple countries. Some passengers disembarked in places including Tenerife, Spain, while the vessel later arrived in Rotterdam, Netherlands. Authorities managed quarantine, testing, and disinfection procedures. The Associated Press also reported that French health authorities found no evidence that the virus had mutated into more dangerous form, with the sequences showing matched known South American strains. So the first question people ask is obvious: can this be prevented? The answer is yes, but not through dramatic measures. Prevention is mostly practical: reduce rodent exposure. Avoid cleaning dry rodent droppings with sweeping or vacuuming, because that can push contaminant particles into the air. Where exposure might have happened, the public health response is monitoring, testing, contact tracing, quarantine for high-risk contacts, and safe disinfection. The question is whether this means another lockdown. Based on the current public guidance, the answer is no. The World Health Organization assessed the wider public health risk as a low and did not recommended travel or trade restrictions for the general public. Not being treated as another C-19 situation. The concern is real, especially for people with direct exposure, but there's no evidence of a global lockdown plan linked to hantavirus. The third question is about vaccines. At the moment, there's no broadly available licensed vaccine for the kind of hantavirus causing concern in this outbreak. And there's a research including early stage work involving Moderna and hantavirus vaccine development. But the research is not same as finished vaccine, a public rollout or a mandate. There's also no evidence from the World Health Organization, the European Center for Disease Prevention and Control, or the United States Centers for Disease Control and Prevention that worldwide mandatory hantavirus vaccine policy is being planned. But this is where the story becomes way beyond global health, where Barron's reported that Moderna stock rose after the hantavirus headlines and the vaccine speculation, before losing momentum as officials played down pandemic level risk. And this is the capitalist layer of the history. A disease can be low risk to general public but still become financially interest for investors. Public health asks how to reduce harm, and the markets ask who might profit: fear, preparation, or vaccine demand expands. This means that in a modern world, the disease is never only a disease. It becomes a headline, a political trigger, a business opportunity, a stock movement, and a test public trust. Before the full facts settle, the investors are already watching pharmaceutical companies, media outlets, and already chasing down attention. And the public is already remembering about C19. That is why the important thing is to separate three layers: the medical facts, the public fear, and the financial incentives. The public facts say antivirus can be severe, especially in close exposure cases. The public health guidance says that the wider risk remains low, and the financial story shows how quickly a rare outbreak can become a market signal. But the reaction around it says a lot about the world C19 left behind. Every outbreak now enters a society already shaped by suspicion, exhausted by restrictions, and aware that crisis can be profitable. Maybe the warning is not that every virus becomes a pandemic. Maybe the warning is that every disease now enters a world where fear moves faster than facts, and sometimes faster than the virus itself.